up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Tesla Table Talk. It's your boy Jordan. As y'all can see here, got my boy Marcus on the channel. Me and him met about a year ago. It's been pretty cool since, just kind of linked on the interest of Tesla, crypto, investing. Just speaking with like-minded individuals, was able to find somebody that I can kind of speak and talk to. So we've actually been talking about making a video like this for a good while, and it's cool to finally have you on the channel, bro. Welcome.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. But yeah, like you said, we've been talking about it for a while, so happy to be here. Glad to finally be able to make this happen. It's been
Yeah,
a
for
long
sure,
time
for
coming.
sure. Yeah, for sure. It's cool to find like get the YouTube channel and stuff off the ground, and it's been interesting, but excited to finally talk about it with you. So,
Oh yeah,
just kind of getting them, acclimated to who you are. I'm sure we'll have you on in the future, but what kind of drew you to Tesla in general? Like, when did you start following the company? Some of your background, like what is it about Tesla for you?
gotcha. Yeah, man. I'm trying to think about the first time I really got introduced to the company. I want to say I really just saw one on the road. I was like, "Yo, what is this car right here?" I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
realize that it was all electric. I just thought it was a very beautiful car. But then I kind of didn't really look into it more. I then, just kind of went down the YouTube rabbit hole and just randomly popped up on a Elon video talking about the solar tiles. He had that whole
oh yeah,
presentation back in the day. I want to say, shoot, I might have been like 2015, 2016 when he was just introducing the three different types of solar
hmm
tiles that blend in with all like it looked like it was just a regular roof. I thought that was
yeah,
like a
yeah,
crazy idea. Like, whoa, like this is something new here. Like, the biggest one of the
yeah,
biggest things, the biggest drawbacks to solar panels that people say is just that they're ugly or whatever. So I was like, oh yeah, they're actually trying to make it, you know, make sense and actually look nice. And I just thought it was a revolutionary idea. Obviously, still hasn't came to fruition to be mass produced, but I think at some point we'll get there in the very near future. Well, hopefully by the end of this decade. So
yeah.
kind of that's when I kind of got the introduction into to Tesla. But then once I graduated from Duke in 2019, end of 2019, I saw the release of the Cybertruck. That's when I started getting more interest. I was like, oh man, this
Yeah,
this thing is legit. Like I kind of was like, it's kind of ugly, but then I kind of watched the whole presentation. I was like, oh okay, this thing actually has like it's pretty legit utility if people just can use it in a certain way. Obviously not using any paint, just having a manufacturing background. I kind of really understood like, okay, we're making these processes simpler. You don't have to worry about chip paint, and just all the crazy utilities it had, and how it'd be a great working vehicle. My dad had he flips houses, so I kind of had that idea of how quickly cars can get beat up in that kind of environment.
yeah.
So I just putting all the pieces together, like, yo, this is a revolutionary idea we got here, and I think it'll be big once we start really seeing those Cybertrucks driving around. Man, it's gonna be a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah, I think for me too, like one of my friends in high school, like 2013, 2014, he had brought up Tesla and like it was just a thing back then. Like they hadn't even really started like mass producing the Model S yet. They were
Yeah,
still like getting it off the ground, ramping it up. And but even then it's been on my mind. And then I think like over the like couple years in college, I didn't really have much money to invest. I was trying to flip shoes and get some money like that. But then from there, once I got some money, like graduated from UNC and stuff, finally started to, look into investing. I was like, okay, this could be
yeah,
big. And like, I knew it was going to be big, but like,
uh,
I didn't know what I was doing investing. I didn't know none of that.
no,
So I was just like, oh, spreading all my money all over the place, man. I had like a
yeah,
few shares back in 2018, and I think my average cost might have been like, maybe like $200 or something like that. I'm like, oh man, like,
um,
that's pre-split too. I would have been like, man, like
yeah,
you should have just left all that money right there. Like, but
yeah,
at the time, you just don't know. So yeah, I think what really sold it was seeing a Model S in person, and then
mm,
in 2019, I test drove a Model 3, and I was like, okay, yeah, nah, this is
yeah.
this is different. Like, it's that experience you talk about. Like, just you have to experience it, and then kind of like go down that rabbit hole yourself to kind of like really, really gain it.
Yeah, exactly. And I built more interest. Like I said, I graduated in December, and kind of Cybertruck. It came out that time when they revealed it, like November, December 2019.
Yeah,
And then I was about to start work, so I had a little bit of money in my pocket, and then I literally just saw like one day I was just looking on Robinhood, and the stock was just going ridiculous. So it went from like four something to like 500 something, like real freaking quick. I was like, yo, I need to place an order, but my order didn't get filled. They're just going up so fast. I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, this is ridiculous. And then I finally bought the bullet and bought one at $800. I told my friends about it. They thought I was crazy. They're like, yo, you're
Yeah.
wild. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Blah blah blah. Mr. Tesla, blah blah. Just saying all ridiculous kind
Yeah.
of stuff. I'm like,
All that stuff.
whatever, man. It is what it is. And then of course the pandemic hit, and then it dropped to like $400. I'm like, damn. Okay, maybe I am an idiot here. But
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, that was really when I was trying to start to get my feet wet investing and really understand, exponential growth and growth opportunities of companies. And like you said, I kind of had stocks all over the place a little bit, but then once I realized what Tesla is and the opportunity it has and the amount of returns that it can have over the next decade or even more, I'm just like, yo, there's nothing else I want to invest in. Like I don't see
Yeah.
anything that will give me those kind of returns in that amount of time. That's like almost a given at this point. Like the
Yeah.
total addressable
That's
market of Tesla is insane.
Yeah, that's one thing that me and you talked about, and everybody like we've had a lot of conversations offline, and everybody thinks we're crazy. Like, nah, I don't understand this. Like, you think it's gonna be big? Like, oh, Elon Musk, you're just a Tesla guy. Like, oh, you have a Tesla, so you just want to. I'm like, y'all
Yeah,
do not understand. And like
yeah,
the YouTube community on Tesla and even Twitter is like nuts. Like, such a great resource.
it
And so
is.
like
It is.
you can really deep dive like into the financials, into deliveries, like every single thing you want to know about the company. There's nothing like that anywhere else. So as much
No,
as it's
it's
a good
not.
company it's been an opportunity to like really deep dive. And because all the information is there, I can make sound decisions. And like, there's nothing like that. NVIDIA is a great company, Apple, but nothing else has this type of background and
Yeah,
the push behind it from retail investors. So it's a unique opportunity for sure.
yeah, you're exactly right. I recently, once I started getting the Tesla and doing more research, I was like, yo, I need to get on Twitter. Like this is
Yeah.
where all the cutting edge information is. Elon's always tweeting something crazy, all that stuff. So I'm like, yo, I need to get on there. And that's when I discovered that same community and understood like, yo, these guys, they're just all the multidisciplinary backgrounds people have, from doctors to engineers to material scientists. Like everybody's just putting in their input. You can't deny these great minds and how they're thinking and the research that they do just to about this company. Like you said, it's no. Apple might have the some sort of this kind of the same community, but they don't go into the research and the details that Tesla does. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's nowhere else. And so that's like a big part of it for me. And I don't know, like you try to tell friends, I've told my mom, like she has like probably 50 stocks in her Robinhood. And I'm like,
Uh,
just sell all of them and buy Tesla. She's like,
yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. And like Tesla will rise to 1200, then it drops all the way to 700. And
yeah,
she's like, oh, like, see, I told you. And I'm like, okay, like whatever, don't listen to me. Like, it's fine.
yeah.
And at a certain point, you just stop telling people. I was gonna ask, like how much of your investing portfolio, or like what of your like portfolio is in Tesla? Is it most of it, or
Yeah, man. I'm sitting at like 95% Tesla, and it's
yeah, yeah,
a mix of stock and options. I'd say it's about 30% options and the rest is stock. But we've
okay,
talked offline about potential strategies of doing some more leaps and just
yeah,
really trying to figure out the best way. What's the quickest way I can have gain the most amount of shares without having to slowly keep purchasing over time. I
yeah,
feel like the options route is just really it's a risky game, but at the same time, if you can kind of connect the dots and see what's coming, especially when it comes to the financial of Tesla, like there it's only so much more time that they can hide like the revenue that is coming in, and it's just going to be
yeah,
insane, and the exponentials are just going to be ridiculous. It's just the cat's going to be out the bag, and I feel like at that point, who can deny their greatness? But I think Wall Street will finally wake up and see what's going on. So I'm hoping that will happen in the next at least 2 to 3 years. We'll see some
yeah.
real exponential growth.
The base that we're building, like we've gone up and like kind of like retested like highs, and like, oh, we shot up to 1200 last year, and then we retested that, and even recently we hit like 11 something, 1145 or something, and we're back down.
Yeah,
But like we just have followed this slow base of like right around 900 to 1000 for like a
yeah,
couple, like since like what, the beginning of 2020 now. So
yeah. It's
there's
insane.
no well, there's no the company has like doubled their revenue multiple times, or
Yeah.
five extra revenue multiple. We just passed 1 million deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna get scary. So I think
Yeah.
for my investments, I think like probably a solid like 90, like low 90%, isn't it too? Most of it is a Leap, just because Leaps are so freaking expensive right now. I used to have a lot more
Yeah.
shares, but I kind of converted those into Leaps, and kind of pulled back. It's a risky game, and I'm like, man, like, trying to like see what the best strategy is. We're figuring it out, so that's the cool thing about it, and it's cool to be able to
Yeah.
like kind of talk to you about what you're doing too, just to have somebody like bounce ideas also off of. So that's been dope. Um,
Exactly. I think it's
yeah,
same going back to that Tesla community as well. They also are very open about, their strategies and how they play the options and buying shares or whatever. It's just a really great community to get ideas and see what best fits your investing strategy.
yeah, for sure. So looking at getting into Q1, we got earnings coming up on the 20th. It's going to be a big earnings again. Like every single quarter is just going to be another
Yes.
exponential growth. Like it's the
Yep,
same old
exactly.
story. But this quarter we did have the shutdown in Shanghai for a few weeks. I really think that's only going to affect like the back end of the quarter, but the supply chain and everything's been going on. With the constraints there as well. Tesla's done a good job, I think, navigating that better than probably anywhere else. I know I was reading on Twitter, like you see the sales for every other auto manufacturer down maybe like 30%, 40, 50% in the
Yeah, it's
first quarter.
insane.
And Tesla was still on the rise, probably I think like 50% or something like that, just something stupid. Just looking at this quarter's earnings and just kind of over this first part of the year, what's some things that you've been like thinking about, or what are you expecting from earnings?
Yeah, I just want to touch on this point that you just mentioned. I just don't see how people aren't connecting the dots here with these other companies, all 30%, 20, 30% down year over year. Do they not see the writing on the wall of what's about to happen? Maybe they'll see it once the second quarter is over, or maybe the third quarter, just loss after loss after loss of percentage of sales. I maybe they'll really realize that, okay, this is something serious. They're all talking. They're not actually doing anything that they're saying they're going to do.
Yeah,
So should
yeah.
be interesting. Definitely
You know
should
that
be.
GIF for The Office? That GIF of The Office, like it's happening, like with the fire
Yeah,
alarm episode. That's what's gonna happen like really soon. By the end of this year, everybody's gonna like, oh crap, the fire alarm is going off. It's happening. Like we
yeah.
are not, we are not fit for this competition. So
No, it's just I think it'll just be super obvious at that point, and just I feel like Wall Street cannot deny it at that point, and
yeah,
I think that will also contribute to some potential growth in Tesla as well once they realize, okay, these guys are the clear leaders. But yeah, back to your point when as far as Q1 earnings, I think obviously once again it's going to be a record quarter
yeah,
in terms of revenue, sales, and all that good stuff. Definitely think we're going to have an impact, obviously, when it comes to the number of cars we sold, just because of that Tesla sold just because of the shutdowns. But I think it'd still be a pretty good earnings, um, given that the MSRP has gone up for every single vehicle over this last quarter. It's just comparing the beginning of 2021 to the beginning of 2022. I think the prices are almost like $5,000 to $10,000 more per vehicle. So I think
yeah,
that'll also contribute to gross profit. I'm thinking hopefully we'll see. I can't remember what it was last quarter. I'm pretty sure it was like 28, 29 maybe
hmm
gross profit per car. So I'm thinking hopefully we'll see something a little bit higher. Just given
yeah,
that with the increase of the MSRP. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see because those price hikes, like you said, are like finally going to start like trickling in because they started doing it probably towards like the middle to end of last year, and that's like the wait time that we are having on Teslas right now. And so that price hike will finally start to kick in here soon. I think
mm-hmm.
most of the shutdowns and all the issues will probably be offset by insane manufacturing ability, the ability to kind of solve problems on the fly, and just the vertical integration that they've been able to kind of achieve. So a lot of the problems that other manufacturers are facing, and like that's the thing about this is like even though they have like a unique product and own the EV market, it's more
Yeah,
the vertical integration and the
yeah,
manufacturing processes that are like driving up profit. Um, One thing that I was reading, so I think I was listening to a podcast, and just like with OEMs, like they don't make any money off of selling their cars. Their gross margins on
exactly.
those are like 2% or something
Nothing.
like that.
Yeah,
It's all from like the aftermarket add-on services, parts, and stuff like that.
yep,
That's like a 40% business. And so as they, you know, it's crazy to then look at Tesla and say, okay, your gross margins are, between 14 and 18%, in the car industry over the last, year or so, like in between that range. That's crazy. Like that's not happening anywhere else. Like,
No.
and the cars are getting more expensive. You really can't, at this point, all cars are getting expensive. So it's not even, I don't think it's as transitory as people make it seem. I think that like cars are just going to start to become more expensive with inflation. I think that'll be one of the things that kind of sticks, especially with dealership markups and all the other crap. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting for sure. We did have the two factories open up over, March and April. What are you thinking about the ramp of those? Just like expectations coming out of Austin and Berlin this year.
Yeah, man. I really don't know what to expect. It's been such a long time coming that we've been waiting for this point to happen. But I don't think we really even obviously Texas just opened like last week. But I think they only delivered cars to employees. So I'm really just kind of curious of what's going on there. Is there still some kind of delays with the 4680s or what's going on there? Maybe they're still in the process of ramping equipment or whatnot, but it seemed, I don't know, based off of what I saw from the snapshots. I mean, obviously I wasn't there, so I don't really know exactly what else was on other parts of the factory. But from what we saw, it looked like, everything was set up, ready to go. But obviously I'm sure there's more details that we don't know that are impacting, pushing out deliveries to everybody else.
Yeah. I think it's good that Berlin finally got opened up, and I think over the next year, like 12 months, I think we're going to see that really, really help. I kind of talked about it in a previous video, but like Berlin opening up that space to sell widely in Europe is going to be huge because they were having to ship everything to Europe from China, and all those like shipping, logistics costs, all that other crap with, shipping battery packs, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. So I'm really excited about that, but I'm also I think again, they've already there's been grumblings on Twitter that once the employees have it, the 4680 sells. And if we're really starting to finally see that take off, it'll be a slow process. I don't want to get overly excited. I think I have to tone it back a little sometimes because I get really hype. I'm like, y'all need to see this. Y'all need to see this. But I got to remember it's more of a long-term play. But as that kind of gets activated and, they actually publicly release that, I think it'll be interesting and really a profit driver once we can kind of see that, take place on the balance sheet and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely excited to see it, the ramping up process. Obviously, we saw how fast Shanghai ramped up. So I think Berlin and Austin should theoretically be faster just because they're using different technology, upgraded technology. They already have a lot of learnings from Shanghai. So theoretically, they should be able to ramp faster. And I personally think if they are able to ramp successfully, we should see pretty solid deliveries at the end of the year. I'm targeting hopefully for them to do 1.7, 1.8. All goes smooth, of course. Yeah,
I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day is execution. We know where it's headed in the long term. It's just about really macro, how that's affecting it. I know earlier in the year, I was really, really bullish. I was like, shoot, they might get 1.9 million at the end of this year.
Yeah.
But with the shutdowns and some of the supply chain constraints, they're doing a great job navigating it. But I think analysts are sitting at 1.5 or 1.6 right now. I think we'll still beat that by a couple 100,000. But it won't be I don't think we'll cross that 2 million mark this year. So, but then again, both of us being more long-term with this and having kind of leaps on our back end, that'll be just be tailwinds coming in later on, which is going to be good. Yeah. How are you kind of trading going into these earnings? Are you taking out any weeklies? I know we've talked about our L's with the weekly.
Yeah, man. I'm scarred from everything in the past. I don't think I'm gonna risk it. Given the macro too, there's still some uncertainty given the whole issue in Ukraine and Russia, and then the Fed coming out with hiking interest rates and whatnot. So I still feel like there's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. So I think we'll hold off. I definitely think. I mean, if there might be, depending on how earnings go, there's a decent amount of beat. I think it'll obviously drive the stock up, but I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna just play it on the sidelines for now.
Yeah, yeah, I can't do it anymore, man. Like, and we'll like text on the side of like, oh, like you doing it this week? I'm like, I can't, like my heart hurts when I look back at like all the times I did weeklies. If I would have just bought shares at that time with that money, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, the portfolio would be stupid. And I'm like, but it's that probability game we talk about. Like, okay, like the probability of this happening might be low, but the returns on this probability could be good. One thing I'm super
Hmm.
excited about is the split. Not even like I don't care if the stock price stays the same or drops, but I'm excited to be able to take, 20 grand or whatever it is and buy multiple leap contracts, buy
Oh
multiple,
yeah.
contracts for 2 years out now. And like now that the stock price will be lower, I'm like super pumped about that. Like you can keep the stock price the same, it can drop down. I don't care.
Hmm.
I just want to be able to buy as many leap contracts as possible because like buying one 18 months to 2 years out, I will have zero stress in my mind, like not even a lick. But right
Right.
now, with them being so expensive, like it's still a little stressful because you're like, dang, I know it's a year out, but like, every day that this doesn't go up, it's a little chunk of change that like could be, big in the long run. So,
Very
um,
true.
yeah, I'm ready for that.
What speaking of the split, what do you think will be the split whenever they decide to make it happen?
Uh, so there's been a lot of talk about it. I think one of the big things to look at is like with Tesla and its exponential growth over the next like 3 to 4 years, I don't think they want it to continue to just like keep having this conversation every 18 months to 2 years. Like we just split in 2020 and we're already talking about a split again. So
Right.
I'm thinking at least 10 to 1 to drop
Hmm.
it down like closer to $100. And then at that point, like the stock price won't move as quickly just because now for every thing it'll take like every $10 for it to be a billion. So it'll start to slow down the growth like of the number,
Hmm.
and just the market cap. The stock price reflection of the market cap will slow down. I think they might even do a 20 to 1 just so we stop talking about it. I think 20 to 1 is my. I don't know. I'm in between 10 and 20, but it'll be one of those two. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm on board with what you're saying. I'm leaning more towards the 10 to 1 just because last time the 5 to 1 just, I mean, obviously we're back right in the same spot less than 2 years later. So
Yeah.
I think they'll do the 10 to 1 and, hopefully I'd love for it to ideally, run back up to close to where it is now. But obviously, that'd be take a multiple billions of dollars for that to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Do you think so? It's weird because like when Tesla split last time, we also had Apple splitting at the same week, and we
yep.
saw a really big run up in both. So this time, I think like all around the same times of the year, who just announced splits? Not Apple, Amazon and Google, but they
Mhm.
like announced it for really far out. So they're like, oh, in 6 months we're splitting. So we haven't really seen any of those stocks run up, and part of that is macro. But do you think like if as all those companies split, like and even Tesla included, like we're gonna see the rise later on? Like we also don't even have a confirmed split yet. We're just like probably it's gonna happen. We just don't know when.
Right.
So I don't know. Do you think like that same rise will happen, or you think we're gonna kind of do a little bit less of that this time?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I think it depends on the macro. I feel like at that point in time, I'm trying to recall if we definitely had some stimulus packages coming in and all those checks going out during that time. So it's definitely a wild time in the market for just a bunch of cash just flooding in during
Yeah.
that time. So I do. I mean, I'd love to see a run up like that, but I think it's really just going to depend on what the macro's looking like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we'll see as big of a run up. I remember, so that was when I really started first investing in Tesla, and I think I had
Mm,
like bought like 5 shares, and like average cost was like $1,000 at the time, like pre-split, because
mm,
it was I was like, I got to get these shares, like they're about to split, and I
yep.
didn't even know what market cap was yet, really. I was just like, oh, it's going to the moon, like whatever. And so now having like a more well-rounded understanding of investing, I'm like, okay, like I just don't see it going crazy, or if it does, then if we really go crazy, I might look to like sell some of those things because it's just that post split kind of you know let down that you're probably going to have with all these companies. But I
Right.
guess we'll see, like factoring in macro and all that stuff as we get a little closer to that.
Yeah, man, you touched on a good point. 2020, that it was definitely a huge learning lesson about the stock market and Tesla alone, really. Um, just doing a lot of research, like I said myself, with learning about Twitter and getting on there and joining the Twitter the Tesla community on there, and
Mm-hmm.
the Dave Lee, the Stephen Mark Ryan, and Tesla Daily. Those guys are awesome, and just get built more conviction in me and the company, despite all the naysayers of, oh, it's too overvalued, blah blah blah. But if you really dig deep into the company, you can see like there's going to be some like a huge opportunity here.
Yeah, yeah. All right, before I let you go, what do you think, like, what do you think about Elon's master plan? Like, I know he's talked about massive scale. Like, what do you think,
Mm-hmm.
like, in your opinion, are some of the things that might come out of that? And I guess for the rest of this year, I know FSD, robot, like, what do you think is
Mm-hmm.
going to be on there?
Yeah, man, there's so much. It really is, especially when he mentioned. I didn't. I know we had talked about it offline about will we see any kind of collaboration with his other companies? And we were like initially, nah, like probably not, blah blah blah. But then he ended up saying something like, yeah, it probably will be some kind of collaboration there.
Hmm.
So I definitely, I mean, we discussed it as well about Tesla getting into mining. That ultimately will be the limiting factor at some point. Because I mean, obviously, you got to put those materials into batteries, um, and they have a huge ambitious goal about amount of terawatts they want to produce. So I think that is definitely going to be incorporated somehow. We already spoke about how they talked about their mining process using table salt to
Hmm.
mine for lithium is just insane. So at that point, I knew that they're probably going to get involved in some kind of mining of raw materials at some point.
Yeah.
So definitely think that's going to be in there. Not entirely sure what role SpaceX will play. I think maybe there might be some integration with Starlink and FSD of some kind of communication there, and maybe with the Tesla Dojo supercomputer. I don't know, some kind of integration there. And then as far as mass scale goes, man, I'd love to see this like maybe 3-4 gigafactories be built at the same time. Like that would be insane. That's some exponential growth right there. Like that at
Yeah.
that point, that'd be undeniable to Wall Street, everybody. Like, hey, you see what they're doing at this point. Like they're laying the foundation to be producing millions of cars. So I think that's like what's the guy's name on Twitter? Gary Black, I believe he was
Oh,
saying
yeah,
that
Gary.
investors or Wall Street doesn't really understand how Tesla is going to produce 20 million cars a year, especially when Tesla sandbags all the time about how many cars their current gigafactories are produced. Like I think they
Yeah.
in their past earning call they said something about Giga Shanghai still only like 500 plus million. I mean 500,000 plus vehicles that they're going to produce. Like
Yeah.
come on now, we all know that thing is about to
Yeah.
be printing millions of cars at some point. Same thing
Yeah.
with Berlin. I think it was like 500,000 plus, and uh, with Texas, I think it was a million plus. Like they're just using these
Yeah.
pluses to be very vague.
Sandbagging, dude.
Yeah,
Sandbagging. Like they
sandbagging
are,
like
and it.
crazy.
I love it. I love it. Like I'm like, okay, yeah, 500,000 out of Berlin. Like, because I think initially with Shanghai, they were saying like, oh, max, we can get out of this building is 500,000, and now like they're doing
Yeah,
that like in their sleep. They're on track to do
exactly.
a million alone in that. I'm like, all right. So that I didn't think about that. I think like a few gigafactories, and they'll have the cash for it too. And I know we talked about the
Exactly.
credit upgrade. The credit upgrade will help with that, dropping that and allowing more institutional investors to come in. Like you said, they want to hear about the car business. How are we going to grow 50%, plus every single year for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
And there'll be things that Elon says or does that kind of, piss Wall Street off. But at the end of the day, I think at a certain point, like you said, they're not going to be able to refute the business, and it'll just be, all right, you got a problem with Elon? Cool, but do you want to make money in the stock market? All right, well, get on the
Mm-hmm.
Tesla train because it's about to take off, and you do not want to be left behind.
Exactly. And I think that's where Twitter is going to play a role in here about having kind of getting rid of the not I'm not going to say getting rid of the FUD, but to really get people clear information about what Tesla is and what it does and what it will be. Because obviously the current media has been on the Tesla smear campaign for the last I don't know how many years. They're starting to come around, but at the same time, there's still a lot of misinformation about the company, what they do. Even Elon himself, we hate the billionaires. He doesn't do blah blah blah. He doesn't pay his taxes, even though he just did paid the most taxes out of anybody ever in the history of the world.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous,
exactly.
and they're still just throwing dirt on his name. And I don't know. I don't think they just kind of look at the surface level of what the media is telling them. But then if you look at his interviews, like you dropped two amazing ones this last week about
Hmm.
how his companies are borderline are really are philanthropy themselves of caring about humanity and giving back to them. And a lot of people just don't see it that way. They're saying, "Oh, this man is making all this money, blah blah blah." But I personally feel like the your net worth is the value of how much you give back to society. And obviously, he's had one of the biggest impacts on in the world.
Yeah.
So that's why his net worth is a show is really a measurement of how much he's giving back. So that's personally how I see it. But a lot of people don't have
Yeah.
that same mindset.
Yeah. I think it him talking about it as philanthropy was kind of it was just a good way to put it for me. Like I understood it as that, but like to finally say like no, like this is philanthropy. I care about the world and like everything I do is to, push the world and the, you know, people's perspective to a brighter future. And kind of be excited about the future and happy about it, rather than pessimistic and kind of doomsday is approaching kind of
Right.
thought. So I think it's I like him a lot, and of course, everybody gonna say what they're gonna say. Like it is what it is. I really don't care. But I think that it'll be irrefutable what his companies are doing, regardless of what his net worth is. And it's not like the dude lives like Jeff Bezos, got a big yacht and
And
out
that's the
here
thing. Yeah.
popping bottles with models. Like he doesn't do
Yeah.
any of
He's
that.
not doing.
He has
Yeah.
a
It's crazy
he's got
because
a
I don't even
jet.
think
He's got
he.
a jet. And that's it.
Yeah. I don't even think he said he didn't own a home or something like that. He's just come on, man. Like how can you hate this guy?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, man. I've been pretty excited about this year. We talked about it a lot, even last year. So it'll be cool to see the Q1 earnings come through on the sheet, see what the numbers are, and then just watch the rest of this year, see what the company does. I'm excited about this year, next year, the next year after that, and forever. It'll be
Yeah.
pretty dope. It'll be pretty dope. Is there anything else you wanted to chop it up about, or?
Not that I can think off the top of my head. I mean, we could talk Tesla all day. I think
Yeah,
maybe we could
yeah.
save some stuff for another video.
Yeah, facts. Well, I appreciate you hopping on the channel, bro. It was good finally get you on here. Hopefully, we got the first one out the way. Now it'll be too easy to, hop on and do maybe some shorter ones, just quick reactions on some other stuff too. So I appreciate you stopping by, bro, and appreciate y'all checking out the video. Definitely subscribe, like. You can follow us both on Twitter. I'll, throw that on in the description. But all right, bro, take it easy, man.
Cool,
Thanks.
man. Thanks for having me. Talk to you
All
soon.
right.
Bye.
All right.